apparent yesterday that firefighters in places like the Pacific Palisades were running out of water at even the fire hydrants. With that then leading to a lot of speculation and accusations of incompetence. With, for example, Donald Trump saying on Truth Social, Governor Gavin Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snow melt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Now the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is the blame for this. On top of it all, no water for fire hydrants, no firefighting planes, a true disaster. Now with all that, there are a number of things to dive into, like regarding the smelt. That is a small fish native to the San Francisco estuary and is endangered both statewide and federally. It's also considered what's known as an indicator species, meaning that the health of its population is a good sign for how healthy that ecosystem is. And for years now, their population has been declining, so efforts backed by Newsom to help the species have included limiting how much water is being diverted from that area to other parts of the state. All of which has been the source of a ton of lawsuits and legal battles, as many parts of the state are feeling the effects of not having enough water. Though this also, as some people have tried to debunk this as the reason for a lack of water, saying things like, the reason there is no water available in fire hydrants in LA is because the water lines have been broken or burned by the fire, so there is no water pressure, in addition to low water pressure due to 8 months of drought. Resist politicized accusations and conspiracy theories. However, that appears to be a bit of misinformation, as even LA officials were saying that was not the reason.
I want to be very clear that the water continues to flow in the Palisades area through our main system. We haven't had any disruption into the water system, but because the winds were severely limited, the air operations, the number of fire hoses connected to the fire hydrants depleted our tanks in the area, specifically in higher elevations. We immediately implemented our contingency plans to provide water trucks to support our firefighters, and our crews are working on how to refill those tanks during this very moment.
You also had LADWP's CEO and chief engineer saying earlier in the conference that this was not a case of the LADWP being unprepared.
In preparation for the windstorm, LADWP activated its emergency preparation plans and filled all 114 available water reservoirs and storage facilities throughout the city, including the 3 1-million-gallon tanks in the Palisades area. We also fuel all our generators serving our pump stations to ensure water will flow out through the emergency.
And so the short version, according to LA's Department of Water and Power, is that the water was being used faster than it could be replaced since they couldn't rely on helicopters and planes to fight the fires. And in general, she also emphasized that they were searching for solutions to get even more water and also asking residents in Western LA to please conserve water. Now, with all that said, you also had a lot of people pointing fingers, trying to say who's responsible for what's happening, with many actually looking at LA Mayor Karen Bass. And as it turns out, Bass was in Ghana when the fire started, and almost literally the second she landed, she was asked questions about the situation. And at the press conference, she really didn't offer much new information and just reiterated what others said. That the city was prepared and is working together to tackle the issue. We also saw a lot of people talking about her push to slash the cities and the LAFD's budget, which is something that we talked about yesterday, so I won't go fully into it again, but there are some new things. Like, for example, a warning that LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley gave to Bass last month that the budget cuts would hurt the department's ability to respond to emergencies just like this. But still, there are those who are defending Bass's decision and claim that conservatives are trying to play both sides of the issue. With essentially the main argument being that Bass had a lot of pressure to cut the city's budget in 2024 to close a massive deficit. But then when a massive disaster like this strikes, the city's asked, why was spending cut? But to be very clear here, right, it wasn't just conservatives who have been critical of the city and state's leadership. You had everyday people and folks like the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, for example, being heavily critical of Democratic control of the state, saying with this, California and especially LA is controlled by Democrats. They are responsible. No more passing the buck. Our mayor, who was in Ghana as fires exploded in our city, cut the fire budget by $17 million. Endless amounts of money funneled to bullshit scammer homeless nonprofits. We're the highest taxed, yet we have encampments and squalor everywhere. Even worse, we don't have enough firefighters to respond to the absolute disaster we're experiencing right now. Rather than conserve the record rain we got last year, we just drained it into the ocean. We are a failing city run by a sick excuse for local government. You want to radicalize people against the modern Democratic Party? Send them to LA. Though that was not the only person or thing that was getting blamed for this disaster. With one of the big narratives being pushed around right now by accounts like Libs of TikTok being that LA Fire's leadership are DEI hires, and so with that also makes them incapable. They're saying, meet Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley. She boasts about being the first female and LGBTQ fire chief in the LA Fire Department, promoting a culture of DEI is her priority. Does this make you feel safer? But with that, you had plenty of people countering that Crowley being solely a DEI hire, that doesn't match with her career. Or with it being noted that she is a 22-year firefighter vet, she's done essentially every job within the field, including leadership positions like captain, battalion chief, assistant chief, fire marshal, and deputy chief. And actually, when she took her first firefighter exam in the late 90s, she was in the top 50 out of 16,000 applicants, with former Mayor Eric Garcetti, who appointed her, explicitly stating that she was appointed because of her credentials. Now, also with this, similar claims have been made about the head of the LADWP. Though again, you have people pointing to her extensive resume, noting that she was a Coast Guard commander for 15 years, including a 5-year stint working in incident management. And also, just before getting to the LADWP, she was a senior vice president in Pacific Gas, an electric company. However, I will say, separate from the whole DEI narrative thing, I should note that even with all those credentials, it doesn't mean that the ball couldn't have been dropped. It's just that on that front, we really don't know that yet, and likely won't know until some kind of investigation's done, which I'm willing to bet will be coming after things calm down. But then finally, with this, to wrap up a few other details, we have seen a ton of conspiracy theories related to all this. Some just kind of funny, and some just weird. Like, there's one guy who was implying something was up because the streets weren't burning when everything else was, to which the community notes had to just say, concrete doesn't burn. But then this also, as others were going the full elites are up to something narrative, saying things like, rumors are circulating that the Pacific Palisades fire was started by a satanic ritual. Pay close attention to the location where the fire began. The address stems from behind this creepy red roof mansion that is straight out of a horror movie. I am launching a full investigation into the neighborhood and the owners of those compounds. The elites will never again be able to operate in the shadows. And with that, like every good conspiracy theory, there's just a dash of truth at least in there. Because yes, the fire was reportedly started in a backyard according to officials. Not to mention that the creepy red roof mansion is just kind of a way to say you're not from Southern California without saying you're not from Southern California. But that's just a generic Spanish colonial style home. It's something that's very popular in SoCal. Like every house in that neighborhood has it, and not because they're secret Satanists. Also, as far as why this guy was saying this, you had community notes saying apparently that he makes these insane claims all the time to generate ad revenue on his post, which is a common criticism of X's blue checkmark program. But with all of that said, how I'll close this is just by saying everything just feels crazy and chaotic there. If you are out there, please listen to the authorities, please be safe. And for now, we're just gonna have to wait to see what happens in this just devastating situation. But from that, taking a quick break from the news, I'll say it's that time of year again, right? It's new beginnings and fresh starts. Whether your goals are transforming your health, breaking bad habits, or hitting the gym, this is the time where we all hit reset. So with that, I gotta ask, are you feeling overwhelmed by mounting debt, watching those balances stay stubbornly high despite your monthly payments? Because this can be the year to finally take control, and that's where today's sponsor, PDS Debt, comes in with their personalized solutions. They understand that everyone's financial situation is unique, whether you're grappling with high interest credit cards, personal loans, unexpected medical bills, they're equipped to help. And their customized programs are designed for anyone carrying $10,000 or more in eligible debt. And don't worry about your credit score. Bad or fair credit is totally fine. And let's be honest, we have all faced financial struggles at some point. Debt can feel like quicksand, pulling you deeper despite your best efforts to stay afloat. And PDS Debt's team takes the time to understand your specific circumstances, working to create solutions that not only help you save money, but accelerate your path to becoming debt-free. Make 2025 the year you transform your financial future. Take the first step by visiting pdsdebt.com/DeFranco for a free 30-second debt analysis. That's pdsdebt.com/DeFranco. Don't wait. Start your journey to being debt-free today at pdsdebt.com/DeFranco. But then, shifting gears to different news, we need to talk about this craziness. A Virginia hospital has now been criminally charged for enabling a doctor to perform unnecessary surgeries on women for years so it could reap millions of dollars in profit. Right, and this new indictment centers around the case of Javid Perwez, an OBGYN who was employed at Chesapeake Regional Medical Center from 1984 until 2019 when he was arrested for his actions. With then Perwez ultimately being convicted of 52 counts of healthcare fraud and false statements in healthcare matters and getting sentenced to 59 years in prison. And in that case, the jury found that Perwez had performed unnecessary hysterectomies and other invasive surgeries, induced pregnant women before they were at 39 weeks without medical need, and sterilized Medicaid patients without consent forms signed 30 days in advance as required by law. With also several former patients testifying at the time that the doctor falsely told them that they had cancer in order to operate on them, with some of the unnecessary procedures leaving these patients with permanent physical damage. But now this latest legal action charges the hospital itself with healthcare fraud and conspiracy to defraud the United States, with it specifically accusing CRMC of being complicit in Perwez's illegal actions in order to boost their own profits, with prosecutors alleging here that CRMC explicitly enabled Perwez to do these unnecessary procedures so they could collect $18.5 million in in reimbursements from private insurers, Medicaid, and Medicare from 2010 until his arrest in 2019. And a big key thing is that the indictment claims that CRMC first granted Perway's privileges in 1984, despite the fact that its executives knew that he had literally been barred from operating at another hospital earlier that year for performing unnecessary surgeries. And they also did so at the objections of their own Department of Surgery.